if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you, bitch, always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy, it was built to be rough. But that's what makes a personality, is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving boulders. Now we ain't getting posterized, we out here making posters. And we ain't got nothing to hide, we move forward like soldiers. You better wake up for the pay stub, or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh, fuck the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Famous for the way up, play the game, bruh.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it.
This is the value of wrestling, the revolutionary force in wrestling podcasting.
Oh, you know, we are back. We are back. We are here. We are live with the value of wrestling. With your it's your yearly roundup, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's your yearly roundup. We're going to sum up everything that happened in 2023. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about all the wrestling fallout for 2023. We're going to do our best of. We're going to talk about what may happen in 2024, because it's within the next 11 hours and 57 minutes and some odd seconds. We'll be ringing in the New Year's, celebrating, getting ready to pop a little bit of that bubbly. Hopefully some people don't pop too much bubbly and go on a Twitter rant. That doesn't work out for them. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Value Wrestling. This is your yearly roundup. Usually we do this as a weekly roundup, but now it's the end of the year. We're going to round up the whole year. But let's get into introductions. First, the one, the only, the master of New Japan Pro Wrestling,
Miguel Z. There we go.
If he remembers to turn on his mic, then we can do things right. And hold on, stand by. Cat coming through. What are we doing to do, Cat? Live on camera.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Go.
There's the cat.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. And since you don't know how to turn on your mic, sir.
Hey, I got fired once last night, so we're good. I can take that one.
Okay, Cat's getting off the screen. We will start the count, and we are good. All right. Of course, our other partner in crime, the one, the only. Paulus Clarke. You know it. You know it. And let me make sure I get back to the right screen. There we go. Everything looking pretty la-di-da-di. And of course, you know me. I'm the one. I'm the only. I'm the Big Tyme. You ever feel like somebody's watching you? Yes, I know. I'm being watched right now. Is that what we're going to do tonight or today? You're just going to sit in the window and stare at me? Where are you going to go? Okay, big jump. Good job. Congratulations. Gentlemen, here we are. Here we are. If you're here, if you're joining us, go ahead and drop your comments in the chat. Join in the conversation today as we talk about the year of 2023 in the world of professional wrestling. Hit up our poll. Tell us what you think of this year. It looks like everybody thinks this year so far was a pretty good year in the world of pro wrestling as a whole. That includes everything and anything dealing with pro wrestling. Gentlemen, 2023, the door's about to shut. We just watched probably not the greatest last showing that AEW could have put out. Not horrible, not great, just kind of there. AEW did some of their best. Some of it was a little lackluster. Just depends on how you look at it. But we saw World's End. AEW's World didn't end yet. Hopefully it doesn't. They're kind of getting into a place where I don't know if they're going to be, if they're WCW, or if they're more like TNA and going to be another one of those quote-unquote cockroaches that just kind of keeps living even though you don't know how it keeps doing it, but it's going to be there. But how are we feeling about the year 2023 in the world of pro wrestling, Mr. Z?
It had its ups and downs, that's for sure. But
boy, did it!
I'm more looking forward to what TNA has to bring to the table in 2024.
Mr. Clarke,
that's what I'm looking forward to.
Your thoughts on 2023 in the world of professional wrestling as a whole?
So we're bypassing 2023, and you're already looking forward to 2024, Miguel. You're like, Punk this year. I thought actually, I mean, like any year, professional wrestling is always going to have its peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of good peaks this year, I thought.
Well, there. I mean, I
depending
think.
upon what's
Go ahead.
depending upon what stories are your favorite, obviously. What nuances, what overall stories you like. This was a good year.
Well, I think we started hot this year. We started hot. We kind of had some weird stuff in the middle of that. We had craziness at the end of the summer, and then into the fall, and then towards the beginning of the end, a lot of stuff flipped and changed the world of professional wrestling. We didn't know what was going to happen, and now we're here at the end, and we're going to break it all down. So let's discuss 2023, since we're here, we're in the moment. What do you gentlemen think was the best pay-per-view event of 2023?
I was waiting for it.
Definitely appropriate music.
Yes.
I'm gonna be a little biased on my end here. I gotta go with Wrestle Kingdom Night 2. Main event was Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. I'm gonna be a little biased for that one.
All right. So we're doing New Japan Pro Wrestling, Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't a vote. We're not voting. We're all just going to say our preferences. If you have a show that you thought was the best pay-per-view, drop it in the comments below, whether you're watching this live now or watching this later. Share your opinion. Mr. Clarke, where do you think the best pay-per-view of the year was?
For my money, or whatever, WrestleMania 39.
WWE WrestleMania 39. What was it for you that made that a stellar
Biggest
show?
story they had at the time, Cody and Roman.
Yeah. No, definitely was. I'm probably going to go later in the end of the year. I think the biggest pay-per-view that probably came out, it was solid throughout. We had two great matches in that. The filler matches, then the big ending. I'm going with Survivor Series 2023 as one of the best pay-per-views, or the best pay-per-view, in my opinion, this year. I think we had a great War Games match with the men. The delay with Randy Orton, it is what it is, but in the end, it was all great. And then the return of CM Punk, hell froze over. I think hell froze. I think hell froze over like 3 times this year in the world, at least WWE. Right? It's freezing over again right now as we're hearing Kevin Dunn is on his way out. But I give it to Survivor Series. I think it wrapped up everything, and it definitely changed the course for what we're seeing going into next year. What?
You do realize, though, for your music, or for your soundboard, we need a William Regal War Games sound.
Oh, yes.
Well, you're going to have to create that because it's not out there. I can't find anything like that. So I can only work with what I have. So that would be a project for you. So those are the best pay-per-views. Let's break it down. We'll go with what was the best men's match for 2023 across the board? What was your favorite, or what do you think was the best men's match in professional wrestling this year? So we're not talking just pay-per-views. It could be a TV show match. It could be from anywhere. What was the best match in 2023 men's?
I don't know if I can talk about any particular match, but it's like almost anything with Gunther in it.
I have to go with that one. I'd have to go with Gunther because he has literally came about and made that a working man's title.
Yes. Well, we're looking at matches, not necessarily man, but I mean,
But
I don't get stuck up on any particular match.
Yeah,
I kind of look at the continuation of the progression of things.
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to do our best stuff here, so that's why, I would probably go. I think it's hard because you had a great match between Cody and Roman. And then you had some good matches in AEW, whether they were at the right place or right time. I mean, Omega and MJF had a good match. Moxley and Eddie Kingston's match was really good. So it can get really hard to decide. But I mean, even Cody and Brock Lesnar's match was good. I know a lot of people didn't like the ending and Cody and Lesnar hugging and all that, but I mean, the synonymous of everything that went in the match to solidify him for the next coming. But I'm probably gonna have to go with Eddie Kingston and Moxley on World's End as the best match, just because it finally gave that moment to Eddie Kingston. I mean, I think we finally got to see Eddie Kingston in his moment, shining bright. And I think it's a great time to give him credit. And it was a good, solid match for a pay-per-view that was a little lackluster on some ends, and where they fell in that card. I think they stole the show, but I definitely think finally seeing Eddie Kingston arrive, especially when we didn't think Eddie Kingston was going to win this tournament. He started off 0-2 into this tournament, and then he really did fight to come back and win this crown. I don't know if the Triple Crown's as big as everybody's going to make it, but I have to give Eddie Kingston his moment in the sun. Best women's match for 2023. I think I'm going to have to go with WrestleMania 39, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley being the best match. It really solidified Rhea Ripley as where she is today and how she got started, taking down the queen herself and synonymizing Rhea Ripley and what we've seen Rhea Ripley become, not only as a champion, but a part of Judgment Day, a part of with Dom and Mommy. And I mean, Rhea Ripley's on a whole different level. And that really is the starting point of that, that rocket launch.
Yeah, that's what I would have to say the same thing, because she got her win back from WrestleMania back in 2020, which everyone's been waiting for. They waited to see if she can get that win back. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely agree with that one. Not just on the sense of that, but just the way they presented Rhea Ripley since then, just extremely dominant. I mean, you go from what she was to where she is now. I mean, she's our modern era China, as most people have been saying. Her and Dom are the Eddie and China of our era right now, of the new era.
Yeah.
Or the current anyways.
Mr. Clarke? Are you jumping on this bandwagon and riding this out of town, or you got another one that you want to throw out there?
Get on that horse.
I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon here.
Yeah, I can't think of. There's been really good women's matches out there. AEW has had some. When you talk about in-ring work, and the hard part sometimes when you talk about the match, you want to be invested. So yeah, you want some storyline and something into it. But I definitely think we're not going to take away from what women do in the ring and their talent in the ring. The matches can be great, but if a lot of the other stuff isn't in there, you can't really get into it.
I think for next year, I'm going to start taking notes and then kind of tallying them up per month.
Yeah.
So I can kind of do this a whole lot better for next year.
Yeah.
Because I've never really paid that kind of attention to individual matches. It's like I said, an overall progression to me.
No. Well, this is our first year.
Cornette and have a book full of notes.
Yeah, this is our first year of doing it. So yeah, I mean, this year now, I think we as a brand, as the Value of Wrestling, are going to really put new effort into it. We got our feet wet a couple of years ago. Things fell apart, and now we dive back into this, and we've grown. We've gone from 2 to 3. And I definitely think, we've only been doing this since the middle of the year. So we only really had a half a year of really getting this done, or really on track to where we are. We came around, I think, late July again, and rebirthed life into this. We launched. And I think we've done great stuff, because, I mean, we're looking at 181 people as subscribers at this time. And we've only been really doing this 5 months, actually. And I think that's good numbers for 5 months. And now that we're kind of getting into it. So, yeah, I think this year, yes, now we're going to take it a little more serious. We're going to pay a little more detail so we know what we're going to bring to the table. So next year when we have the yearly roundup, we'll definitely have something to bring to the table. But I mean, off the head, off the cuff, we're just trying to shoot and do something entertaining, something a little different to wrap up the end of the year. Okay, so we had the matches. What was the best female superstar of 2023? Who was the female superstar of the year? I don't know if it goes into what we just talked about, but we may all have different opinions. I mean, there's been some good things. Has Toni Storm's character, the Timeless One, been as good as it should be? No, it's kind of fall off, but she's definitely came from where she was nothing to feeling somewhat of a spectacular. The characters kind of found out. Toni Storm has her claims to be there. Rhea definitely has her claims to be there. Becky Lynch, though, has her great comeback in her story. Yeah, I don't know if you can say Bayley didn't have a great year this year as a female wrestler, even though her story is kind of turning. Io Sky had an amazing year. So, I mean, there's a lot out there. What is your gentleman's opinion on who is the female superstar for 2023?
For my money, Rhea Ripley's number one.
Yeah.
With rising star Julia Hart coming up second.
See, I totally forgot about mentioning Julia Hart and the run that she's on and what she's done, and how amazing that's been. And you can't say Sky Blue hasn't really started to come into her own. We're starting to see where she's turning and coming into a threat. Next year, I think we're going to have big names for Jade Cargill. This year we didn't get a lot of Jade Cargill, which was sad and unfortunate, but she was a pretty big name. Can't wait to see what she's going to do in WWE. But, same in those notes, you've got Io Sky and everything else there. Mr. Z, your thought, who was the woman of the year?
Obviously, top dollar would have to be Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
Just for what's been going on. And then I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to go a little biased, even though she left, but this woman sold out a venue just on her match alone. I'd have to say Mercedes Moné.
Yeah. I'd have to say Rhea Ripley has been the female wrestler of 2023. She's been the hottest thing. She's been a part of everything that's hot, being part of Judgment Day all around. The mommy, the thing with the situation with Dom. She's the most one of the most talked about. Now, I give credit to Mercedes Moné. She is probably the most talked about female in 2023 because of her jump to New Japan Pro Wrestling, her selling out, her showing up at All In, possibly going to AEW, not going to AEW, going back to WWE, not going to WWE, probably going back to AEW now. We don't know where Mercedes Moné is going to show up, but she's definitely kept her name in popular. But I also have to agree with Mr. Clarke. Julia Hart has really come into her own and is the youngest champion in AEW history, which is an impressive feat for a young talent. For somebody who was stuck with two guys that were kind of lost in a varsity blues, was kind of a shady ripoff gimmick of the Hollywood Blondes in a way with a twist on it. She was kind of thrown into that group and she really didn't serve any purpose. I think some of us were a little weirded out by her joining the House of Black, how that was going to play out, but they really took that and pushed her to the moon. I mean, we talk bad about AEW, but whoever's been behind that booking, that storyline, has really made Julia Hart feel important, and can't wait to see what she does in 2024.
Just that entrance alone, man, you can't help but get juiced when you see her come out.
I said it last night. If they were to build this right, if this was to have longevity and life to it, it could be Undertaker-esque levels of entrances, and she could have something special there. All right. So we talked about the woman of the year. Who was the man of the year? Who is the men's wrestler of 2023? This is probably going to be a little harder because you can look at a lot of great things that have been there. We know MJF has had a hell of a year. Swerve Strickland has had a hell of a year, coming out shining. Eddie Kingston, in his own right, has had a hell of a year. Seth Rollins has been on a damn roll. You can't take away, even though Roman didn't wrestle that much, Roman Reigns still holding on to that title when we expected him to drop a WrestleMania. Cody Rhodes has definitely had a big, huge year as the wrestler of the year, going as long as he is continuously telling the story. Samoa Joe has had a hell of a year in AEW from where he was to where he's gotten to as of last night. So, I mean, there's a lot of names that it's really going to be something to think about. Who wants the floor
For
first?
my money,
there you go.
For my money, it's the rise of Swerve Strickland. That is my absolute favorite story right now, and there's a lot of guys that look good in 2023. The continuing maintenance of Cody Rhodes and his ascent is fantastic. But my absolute favorite is Swerve Strickland right now, and kind of predicts the overall year for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my For me, Eddie Kingston finally getting his flowers last night, but man, he has done anything and everything during the year to still keep up and keep his name strong, his name value strong out there. And for an up and comer, honestly, Lexus King, definitely. What they've done with him is what they did with him is unbelievable. I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with him next too.
Well, and even with, we can't wait to see what they're possibly going to do with Bron Breakker, Carl Hayes. It has been a huge name at Trick Williams. And it is huge too. So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about there. And we can even get into TNA with Josh Alexander really making his name in that brand. You have to be excited about what's going on with them. Bryan Danielson has had a pretty decent year, regardless of the injuries. And Will Ospreay have had a hell of a year, but I think I'm going to have to say the one man that's given it all, put it in the ring, and gone out there every night and done it to the best of his ability, and taken a kind of a secondhand gifted title to kind of make a some relevancy. I think Seth Rollins for me was the man of the year, given that WWE World title that does kind of feel like a consolation prize that they needed to give him some title or create another title to get away from the Roman Reigns, holding two belts. I think Seth Rollins has done amazing this year. He's had his moment, not to take away from Cody, not to take away from Swerve or Joe or all these men. I mean, a lot of these people have earned it, but I think Seth Rollins, for me, at the end of the day, is the best men's wrestler. All right, let's get into because there's one that I think we're all going to agree on, but there's a couple other things. But the moment of the year. What was the moment of year in the world of professional wrestling? What was the biggest moment, period, in 2023? Should we do a moment in the most shocking moment, or just a moment and talk about the top 3 moments in professional wrestling? I think we all know what the most shocking moment in wrestling is, but I don't know. It's kind of the same thing. The most shocking in the moment. I don't know if you can really,
because most memorable versus shocking is kind of similar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only reason you do that is to give 2 of those moments, and there's a couple of moments. I mean, Vince McMahon coming back into power at the beginning of the year, and taking what we thought was going to be, the moment for Triple H and WrestleMania, and taking that away, to the final closing to see Vince McMahon get pushed out. I mean, that's a shocking moment. We're going through a shocking moment right now, and for most people, you may not mean anything, but hearing that Bucky's leaving WWE, you're just kind of like, whoa.
Kevin Dunn, for those who don't know the nickname.
Right. The moment of the year, you could say, even though we're tired of hearing AEW selling out and selling the most tickets to any wrestling event, it's been grounded in your brain, so it may not feel as a important moment, but it is a big moment for 2023.
2023, and historically.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, for me, at the end of the day, and I think you guys will agree, I think the most shocking moment, the man that made the most noise in 2023 and the moment itself has to go to CM Punk. I think from where we went with all in and the brawl with Jack Perry, to finding out that they actually fired him, to going into Survivor Series at Chicago, where all the things were he's coming, he's not coming, he's coming, he's not coming. And by the time we got there, we were all like, whatever happens, happens. And Triple H played it out beautifully, because we got Randy Orton returning after 18 months of injury that we thought may put him out of professional wrestling. That's one of those other moments in wrestling. This is another reason I'm like, Survivor Series had these big moments. But yeah, when you had CM Punk come out at the end of that match, and all the things that were going on in that moment, and the fact that everybody had pretty much been fooled that there's people, I mean, we all believe maybe it could happen, but I think at the point that it actually happened, we all kind of were like, nah, we weren't invested in it enough to believe in it. So when it happened, It was one of those great moments that we don't get very much anymore, because of the internet wrestling community, because of some of the things we do. We get out here and report these rumors and stories and what's going on. But when we get one of those actual moments, we're like, oh crap, CM Punk is back in WWE. Holy Toledo. I don't know if you can really top that. I mean, CM Punk he may not have been the wrestler of the year. He had some good matches during this year, but I mean, just he created the moment of the year, and it's definitely set the stage going forward into 2024. I'll let you gentlemen talk. What you think?
You can't deny it. And Triple H said it best at his media scrum. CM Punk gets the people talking, good, bad, and indifferent.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely that was it.
And what was great about Punk is the fact that it didn't overshadow Randy Orton come back, but it gave him all the pomp and circumstance that you expect from someone the status of CM Punk.
Oh yeah,
like you got the best of both worlds. You got everything working the way it should flow.
Totally, and it was
I think that's what we could we could tip our cap to WWE and those who run it right now is they don't overshadow each other. They time it just right to where everyone gets their moment or gets the pop they deserve.
Well, and I think the fact of the matter of all the stuff that came after it, I think Seth Rollins starting that storyline with CM Punk and his acting out. I mean, there was just so much that came out of that, let alone he just showed up. And then so many people out there like, it's not going to happen. Oh, we know it's not going to happen. And then what happened? Everybody was like, ah. And of course, we had our favorite guy, Feed Me More, who said he was going to retire, but failed to do that. So the biggest liar
almost was the moment of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
If he was serious, that would
have been a great moment. But hey, let's hit this one. 2023 biggest liar of the year goes to you, Ryback. I'll say your name one time only on the show. It is you that wins the biggest liar of 2023. Who was the greatest Twitter, or whatever you want to call it? Who was the biggest
on the Twitter machine?
Yes,
Twitter fingers.
Who did social media best in 2023? That's a good one because I think recently with Psycho Sid hitting on some of his comments, it's great. But if you want to talk about, I guess we get the Twitter award to Psycho Sid, but we get the social media award maybe to Jim Cornette and a lot of his things. And of course, I think we have to probably say Chris Jericho has been the one that was really bad at the Twitter sphere this year.
Oh, Lord.
Or maybe Tony Khan. Tony Khan gives Jericho a lot of... Tony Khan, I forget. We forget. Right now, live, watch, thank you, love, blah. Yeah, okay, cool.
We know he's in there. He's watching.
So 2023 is definitely been a year of just things that you never expected. I think if we would have been doing this last year and made predictions, I don't think any of us would have ever predicted CM Punk going back to WWE.
No, not at all.
No.
So I think that was huge. MJF's long title run, a lot of great things in 2023. But the transition, and we do transition, we're going to get into predictions, what we see the future. But first, we're going to talk about those that we have lost in this year in the world of professional wrestling. People who are connected to professional wrestling. I have a list here. I'm going to read off. I'll give you a little bit of information from the list I have. Some of these people we may know or might not know. If either of you know them, please add any information in. But we'll get into this. First off, we have Mr. Excellent. Mr. Excellent passed away on August 14th. Dan Excellent made his pro wrestling debut in 1995 after being trained by Dory Funk at the Funking Conservatory in Ocala, Florida. He mostly worked for the IWA and ACW with the biggest profile feud against the Rock and Roll Express. Emile Dupree, he was a Canadian pro wrestler and promoter along with being the father of former WWF superstar Rene Dupree. He wrestled many legends in the business, including Clear Kowalski, Dusty Rhodes, and others. He passed away on September 17th. Eric Froelich passed away on February 10th, a German fan favorite. That's what Eric Froelich was in the 60s and 70s. He claims he is the biggest opponent. His biggest opponent was a real-life tiger that he fought 19 times. So he wrestled as a piece on the Good Guy German. He passed away at the age of 85. Jason Silver passed away on February 23rd. He was a regular independent wrestling worker for a number of promotions, including Heart of Texas Pro Wrestling, formerly known as ACW, Metroplex Wrestling, and VIP Wrestling. Silver was known as one half of the Lost Boys tag team, who won several championships together. He was a positive person who regularly helped to lift people spirits on social media, and he passed away at the young age of 36. Jeff Gaylord passed away on March 17th. He was a wrestler in the late 80s and 90s, mostly known as a frequent tag partner to Jeff Jarrett, along with working for WCCW and USWA. He had previously enjoyed a successful career in football. After leaving wrestling in 1997, he was later convicted of several bank robberies, and at the age of 64, he was found deceased at a bus stop in Inglewood, Colorado. It was assumed that he had been homeless at that time. Give me 1 second. I think I may sneeze, but well, no. Okay. Joyce Gable passed away on September 29th. Trained by Judy Grable, the fabulous Moolah gave her the ring name of Joyce Grable for how much she looked like Judy. She went on to win the NWA United States Women's Champion along with the NWA World Women Tag Team Champion 6 times, with 3 being with Wendy Richter. Grable worked as a wrestler from 1971 to 1991, and she passed away at the age of 70. Kristen Miami Mitchell passed away in early May. She was a trailblazer of Australian women's wrestling. Kristen Mitchell helped to shape the future of several top stars, including Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm, the Iconics, Cassie Lee and Jessica McKay, Shaz McKenzie, and many, many more. As a wrestler and trainer, it is said that she was a fierce, formidable, and fearless competitor whose work away from the big stage was internal in shaping the future of women's wrestling. She helped lead the Melbourne City Wrestling Academy, a training facility that has helped to produce some of Australia's best talent since 1999. Asomo Kid passed away on the 11th of December. Asomo Kid passed away this month at the age of 73. He was originally a member of the New Japan Pro Wrestling roster in 1973 and a student of the legendary Karl Gotch. In his time, he became an IWGP Tag Team Champion with Akira Madai. Kido also helped to form the Universal Wrestling Federation in 1984. In his later years, he assisted in the training of future stars like Shinsuke Nakamura in the New Japan Pro Wrestling Dojo. Are you familiar with that name? Asomo Kido?
I've heard that name several times, but yeah, that's sad.
Peggy Lee Leather passed away on May 22nd. She began wrestling for the World Wrestling Federation in 1980 under the booking of Fabulous Moolah. After leaving in 1985, she worked in the AWA for a few years before briefly joining WCW in 1990. She worked the rest of her career on the independent circuit and officially retired in 2013. Peggy Lee, along with winning several women's titles, as a former NWA World Women's Champion, which she held for an unknown period of time in 1994. After accusations of Fabulous Moolah's mistreatment of women came to light, Peggy Lee defended her former booker by saying the accusations were ridiculous and no one should be burying her legacy. The only true thing about Moolah is her being a shrewd businesswoman, but Peggy Lee insisted she never heard or witnessed Moolah pimping out her girls. Peggy passed away at the age of 64. Lumberjack Pierre Lefevre passed away in May 17th. Managed by the legendary Captain Lou Albano, the Yukon Lumberjack became the WWF Tag Team Champion in 1978. They defeated Dino, along with his brother Eric. They defeated Dino Bravo and Dominic DiNucci to begin a 184-day reign that lasted until they lost the titles to Larry Zbyszko and Tony Garr. Pierre was one of the first French Canadians to make it big in the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, which would later become the WWF, which would later become the WWE, paving the way for the following generations of talent to come out of Quebec. Eric passed away in 1987 from a brain tumor at the age of 35. Pierre wrestled from 1964 until his retirement in 1983. Russ Francis passed away on October 1st. Francis was most famously known as a football player for the New England Patriots and the San Francisco 49ers in the 70s and 80s. After retirement, began a professional wrestling career, mostly working full-time for AWA and NWA Hawaii. He also worked in the 20-man Battle Royal at WrestleMania 2, along with other NFL stars. Francis passed away in a plane crash at 70 years old. Billy Two Rivers passed away February 12th. He was a Canadian Mohawk wrestler whose career spanned from 1953 to 1977. After retiring, he joined politics where he served as an elder, a chief, and a counselor to the Kanawaki, and I apologize if I butchered that. Reservation. He has appeared in several movies, including appearances in several films, including Pocahontas the Legend, Black Robe, and Taking Lives. Black Warrior passed away on the 10th of January of this year. Jesus Torella Lopez was best known for his work for, I guess was CMLL. I don't know how to pronounce all the names in CMML.
That's fine.
It's Lucha Libre. I don't know. Consejo Mundial. I don't know. I won't even try to butcher it. It sounds stupid. Anyway, between 1995 and 2003, he wrestled for CMLL. He was as well as he worked for some independents. He also served as a teacher. Charlie Norris, no relation to Chuck Norris. He was passed away on the 6th of February. He was known mostly for his tenure in WCW in 1993, although he spent much of his career working for Pro Wrestling America, where he won 5 heavyweight championships and 2 tag team championships for the promotion. In 1991, Norris was considered to be brought in to play a Native American character in the World Wrestling Federation, but they instead went with Chris Chavez, who would widely be known as the one and only Tatanka. Charlie Norris passed away at the age of 50. Although he adopted many names and gimmicks in his career, his time as Black Warrior from 1996 to 2009 was his most lucrative. This included a singles reign as the NWA Light Heavyweight Champion and the NWA World Middleweight Champion. He passed away at the age of 54. Now we're starting to get in probably some more well-named names, and this one was a big one for a lot of people overseas, especially in the German wrestling world. Absolute Andy. We lost Absolute Andy on the 23rd of November. Andreas Ullmann is his name. Was a veteran of the German independent scene, mostly working for West Side Extreme Wrestling. A few years after starting out in 2003. He remained with the promotion for his entire career from 2006 till 2022. In that time, he wrestled over 300 matches, and his biggest opponents include Bryan Danielson, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Jeff Jarrett.
Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Hiroshi Tanahashi. There you go. Jeff Jarrett, Gunther, Dragunov. Ilya Dragunov.
Ilya.
Yeah. Malachi Black, and many more. He passed away in November from an undisclosed illness, and he received many tributes, including one from his old rival, Gunther. Then we had Adnan Al-Kaisi. Adnan Al-Kaisi, who may be known to the general wrestling world as General Adnan as his time in WWE. He was an Iraqi-American professional wrestler, manager best known as Sheikh Adnan Al-Kaisi. He was born in Baghdad and went to school with Saddam Hussein. He began wrestling in America during 1959, and he continued into the mid-'80s before becoming a manager for the heel foreign characters. During his time as a wrestler, he won many championships, including the WWF World Tag Team Championships with Chief Jay Strongbow. While managing him, Sergeant Slaughter defeated the Ultimate Royal Rumble 1991 to become the WWF champion. He and Sergeant Slaughter aligned with the Iron Sheik, who went by the name of Colonel Mustafa at that time, to form the Triangle of Terror, and the trio fought and lost in a handicap match in the main event of SummerSlam 91 against Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. Al-Kaisi formerly managed his own company, the World All-Star Wrestling Alliance, which he co-owned with Ken Patera. He retired from wrestling in 1998. Adrian Street passed away on July 31st. The exotic Adrian Street was so far ahead of his time, he was sorely misunderstood. His flamboyant character generated a ton of heat, not just with wrestling audiences, but with his own father. He was pushing limits of sexuality in wrestling long before others dared to try it. The Welsh superstar's career is so storied that I cannot do it justice in a few paragraphs. And there's an article where you can go do more. He was what you would call the original Gorgeous George. He was doing stuff that was Goldust prior to that. He passed away at the age of 82. So, I mean, that was the era for Adrian Street. But he was up there with what Gorgeous George was doing in his time. And he was pretty much doing the gimmick Goldust was doing, pushing those envelopes before Goldust came around. Bart Sawyer, and not Bart Sawyer, well known, but this was Bart Sawyer. He passed away on September 12th. He was best known for his time in Championship Wrestling USA and the United States Wrestling Association during the 90s, along with many other promotions, including ECW, Memphis, and several NWA territories. His character was originally modeled on Bart Simpson, so he was given a nickname of the Bartman. He was a USWA World Tag Team Champion with Flex Kavana, a young man who would someday be known as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And shockingly, a couple of 4 days before Bart Sawyer passed away, Brett Sawyer, and these two men don't have any relations, passed away on September 8th. He was trained by Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer and Ricky Steamboat. He debuted in 1976 at the tender age of 16. He was known for winning the tag team championships with Buzz, but also other names like Tom Pritchard and Rocky Johnson. While working for the NWA territories, Brett and Buzz worked some matches in Jim Crockett promotion during the mid-'80s. After retiring in 1998, he opened a wrestling school called Mad Dog's Palace School of Professional Wrestling, a name given in tribute to his older brother who had passed away in 1992. Brett Eugene Wowen passed away at the age of 63. Now, a big name in professional wrestling, unfortunately for the tragic incident that happened, Droz. Droz passed away on June 30th. He was known as one of the most unfortunate stories of the Attitude Era when a botched wrestling move made him a quadriplegic. Before that, he had enjoyed much of his successful career as a football player and then a wrestler for the WWE. While he regained some mobility in his later years, he had required 24-hour in-home care, daily medication, and the need to lie flat for long periods. Darren Drozdov. We wish he could have been more. He was part of a remake of the Legion of Doom briefly. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see what his full potential could have been. Mantar passed away on July 11th, so on 7-11 Day, we lost Mantar, better known as Mike Halleck, I believe is how it's pronounced. He had a short-lived but memorial run in the World Wrestling Federation as Mantar. Yes, he came out with a big Mantar head, and he wrestled as a Mantar, as a bull. He got to wrestle Rosa Ramon for the Intercontinental Championship. He would later wrestle as Tank for the same promotion, and he would also work for ECW, WCW, USWA, CWA, and on the independents. He unfortunately passed away in his sleep at the age of 55. Early that night, he had fallen and injured his back, and so unfortunately we lost him. Now, for the older generation, and what would be the man that really would be a name that would be synonymous with professional wrestling in the early the 60s, 70s, and the early 80s, and also become synonymous with Hulk Hogan because Hulk Hogan stole his gimmick. Superstar Billy Graham. When we lost Superstar Billy Graham on May 17th, he helped define the term Superstar. Billy Graham was so ahead of his time that he was trusted to take over from the long-reigning Bruto Sammartino as the first true heel world champion in WWE history. Outside the World Wrestling Federation, he won numerous NWA titles along with the CWA and IWA World Heavyweight titles. However, Graham's title reigns were not what made his career special. Superstar became the blueprint for how a wrestler should look and talk. As an award-winning bodybuilder, he was a training partner and close friend of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and his natural charisma and promos resembled the interviewing styles of boxer Muhammad Ali. Graham's presentation heavily influenced Hulk Hogan's successful character, not just by the way he looked, but how he said words like brother all the time. However, it's not without controversy. Billy Graham had a tumultuous relationship with the McMahon family. He filed several lawsuits against Vince McMahon about steroids and child abuse to get hush money. There were cries for help as he struggled to pay for medical expenses in a later life, marred with health difficulties. It was so bad that he sold his Hall of Fame ring on eBay before he wanted out. After Dusty Rhodes' passing, he pleaded for a job in NXT, which drew fan criticism for the timing, although he claimed wanting to reconcile with Vince McMahon and help younger talent. While Eldridge Wayne Coleman Jr. suffered from many difficulties in his life, we should remember his career for helping to bring professional wrestling into the mainstream. He looked like a superstar long before anyone. To this day, fans often criticize wrestlers for looking too ordinary because having the look goes a long way. When Billy Graham walked down the street, you could tell that he was somebody. Superstar helped to change the perception of what professional wrestling can look and sound like, and I'm sure that his legacy he was proud of his legacy. Superstar Billy Graham. Another sad one. Whether you know this man as part of the Sheepherders or the Bushwhackers, This year we lost Butch, and gratefully that he was inducted into the Hall of Fame before we lost him. But Butch of the Bushwhackers passed away on April 3rd. He was a New Zealander wrestler, I guess you could just say New Zealand wrestler, famously known as one half of the Bushwhackers or the Sheepherders. And if you've seen a Bushwhackers match, you know what he's good at. But if you really want to see what these two guys, Butch and Luke of the Bushwhackers were crazy. If you go watch Sheepherder matches, it gives you a whole different interpretation. The Bushwhackers are always trying to treat it as a comical tag team in the WWE, never really taken seriously. But if you go watch Sheepherder videos, you want to talk about ECW and some of the craziness. I mean, I'm glad they're not around now wrestling because they'd probably be doing tag team death matches. And, of course, they were almost doing tag team death matches before death matches were even famous, to be honest. He was half of the Bushwhackers of the Sheepherders in 2015. He was inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame with his cousin. I believe they were cousins, Luke. They won a considerable number of tag team champions during a storied career beginning in the mid-1960s and ended in the early 2000s. In early April, they had traveled to Los Angeles, California to take part of the WrestleMania activities, but he was hospitalized and sadly passed away at the age of 78. Butch of the Bushwhackers. Then legendary promoter. We lost this legendary promoter on February 14th on Valentine's Day. That is sad to hear. We lost the father to one of the greats, whether we like him or not like him. He has a lot of talent. I don't always necessarily like that he's still around. But ladies and gentlemen, on February 14th, we lost Jerry Jarrett. Jerry Jarrett's contributions to wrestling cannot be understated. As a promoter in the Mid-South, he originally founded the CWA and later the USWA, which saw many of wrestling's legends get their big breaks. He co-founded the NWA TNA. That later became TNA Wrestling, then Impact Wrestling, back to TNA at the beginning of the year. Jerry also had a wrestling career where he picked up a few titles after serving as a referee. He lived his life to promote professional wrestling, and he did a seriously good job at it. Jarrett died of a heart attack while undergoing treatment for cancer on February 14th. He passed away at the age of 80. Our condolences to Jeff Jarrett. This is Jeff Jarrett's father. Whether you love Jeff Jarrett or not, it's beside the fact. Jeff Jarrett is still one of the greatest in the world of professional wrestling. He has done a lot for professional wrestling. Whether I always like what he does as a character in wrestling or the way he goes over, Jeff Jarrett is a name that's synonymous with wrestling, and so it's a Jarrett family name. And I didn't say in here, but Jerry Jarrett was supposedly the person that was tapped to take over for Vince McMahon if Vince McMahon had gone to prison during the steroid scandal in the early 90s. Jerry Jarrett would have been the man. Would have been the man to run WWF at that time if Vince McMahon had gone. Another tragic loss, which is really sad, but thankfully he did something very important in the time he had left before he passed away. Ladies and gentlemen, on February 2nd of this year, we lost the legend known as the Genius, or before that, Leaping Lanny Poffo. Ladies and gentlemen, we lost Lanny Poffo, the younger brother to the late, great Hall of Fame legend of professional wrestling, the Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh, yeah. And if there's anything we can say thank you to Lanny Poffo for, he got overlooked sometimes in wrestling. The genius gimmick was good. He was good at the pinning of poetry, but we have to always think that he made sure that Macho Man Randy Savage got his name into the WWE Hall of Fame where it should have been. But while he could have never matched the legendary career of Randy Savage, Lanny found his own path and accomplished many things along the way. Along with claiming championships around the world, he was a great portraying more elaborate characters to draw heat. After getting a WCW contract, Randy had acquired the Gorgeous George gimmick to be used by Lanny, of which he knew he could pull off. Despite getting paid, WCW never returned his calls to book him. So while he would have preferred to work, Lanny stayed at home and collected the money. Yes, when Randy Savage originally owned the Gorgeous George gimmick, and we go back to the original Gorgeous George of professional wrestling, Macho Man Randy Savage bought that gimmick, bought that name. And what we do as Gorgeous George in WCW was never the original plan. It was actually supposed to be Lanny Poffo was supposed to come in and be Gorgeous George, but Eric Bischoff didn't do that. Lanny was available to induct his brother into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2015. His last match happened in 2020, 46 years after making his wrestling debut. He passed away in February due to heart failure. Lanny Poffo, who I don't think gets his flowers often for what he contributed to the world of professional wrestling, even though sometimes it may have been on the backstage or being the sounding earpiece to a Macho Man.
Real quick, now that you talked about that, I got to meet that man at a con in Lodi years ago, and was helping a buddy of mine film his own show that he was doing. Getting insulted by the genius had to have been a good one for me. Asking me if I knew how to operate a camera. I always go back to that story because, man, that just made me feel like a kid inside. I wanted to, just jump up and down like, holy crap, I got insulted by the genius.
On June 7th, we lost one of the greatest professional wrestlers, one of the greatest names in the business. The man that you would have to say put the rocket ship on the back of Hulk Hogan, the man that dropped the title to Hulk Hogan and made the world know what professional wrestling was. If it wasn't for this man possibly dropping this title to Hogan at this time, who knows what we would have gotten. But anyways, we lost the Iron Sheik. Yes, Sheiky baby made the wrestling world humble upon his passing, where no one can withstand the camel clutch for too long, especially that filthy Hulk Hogan. And if you know Sheiky, and you know how he talked, and this is a man that was great to see anywhere. If you met this man in public, whether you saw him at a Comic-Con or anywhere, he was Sheiky all the time. There wasn't much of a difference between a character and the Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik was a freak athlete in his day. He was he was to compete in the Olympics, but the unexpected, mysterious death of his hero encouraged him to move to the United States to advance his career. He was an Iranian Olympic wrestler that came over. He started his pro wrestling career under Vern Gagne, who led the AWA and trained under Billy Robinson in the same class as the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Sheik also helped to train legends like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He is known as the first and only Iranian champion in WWE history. His colorful character made him a household name, along with helping to cement Hulk Hogan's babyface hero status. He was despicably entertaining throughout, and long after his wrestling career, some of his shoot interviews are comically legendary, and there will only be, and only can ever be, one Iron Sheik. His real name is Hossein. I can't get that.
Yeah.
But Sheiky passed away at the age of 81 following a cardiac arrest with congested heart failure and hypertension as contributing factors. Sadly, we lost Sheiky baby. We lost the Iron Sheik, who was an entertaining man even in his older age and contributed a lot to professional wrestling in and out of the ring for many, many years. Okay. We're getting to the hard ones now. August 23rd was probably one of the quietest days in the world of professional wrestling when the news heard around the world hit. And people were hit as the legend, the Hall of Famer, the hardcore icon before the one and only Terry Funk. A career spanning over 50 years, a man known as Terry Funk lived and breathed professional wrestling like no other. From beginning to end, as one of the first second-generation stars trained by his father, Dory Funk, he was bred for success with his brother, Dory Funk Jr. While becoming NWA World Heavyweight Champion, he would usually be the defining moment of a wrestler's... While becoming the NWA World Heavyweight Championship would usually be the defining moment of a wrestler's career, Funk's love for hardcore wrestling is what most fans remember him for. He played a huge role in helping ECW when it rebranded to Extreme Wrestling or Extreme Championship Wrestling in 1997. Not only that, but Mick Foley often credits Funk for mentoring him in the ways of hardcore. Terry Funk is often seen as the father of hardcore and wrestling in the United States due to some of the insane things he would do at his age, was something to admire. Terry Funk was as tough as nails, and he'd be insulted if anyone held back. I always remember, Mick Foley, when he started out, Foley asked Funk how he made his punches look so real. Funk punched him in the mouth. Foley said that his punches were real, and Funk agreed, which explains why they looked so real. While Funk may have been seriously underutilized during his time in WWF, it takes nothing away from how legendary his career was. Terry Funk is one of the greatest wrestlers of all times. And WWE, he passed away at the age of 79. And Terry Funk, Chainsaw Charlie, whether it was ECW, WCW, whether it was feuding with Flair, whether it was feuding with Dusty, whether it was feuding with Mick Foley, whether it was feuding with anybody that you can name, this man feuded with people It was synonymous with what brought Extreme Championship Wrestling to the forefront. If without Terry Funk, I don't know if Paul Heyman could have brought ECW to life the way he did. Terry Funk is a legend in the hardcore world. He's a legend in the world of professional wrestling. If you only seen what he did in the hardcore aspects of it, you need to go back to the 80s and watch how great of a wrestler he was before that hardcore kicked in. Is there anything either of you gentlemen want to add into about Terry Funk before we move along?
Other than the obvious, I mean, the father of hardcore wrestling. But like you said, if you really want to watch him work, you need to go back a little further, because it wasn't until he went to Japan is when he really got into it. But beforehand, this man could work, and there was real excellent in the ring. He lived that life. It wasn't a gimmick to him.
Yeah.
I gotta remember, he was middle-aged and crazy.
He
There
was.
you go.
Literally. I mean, we could talk about when he was Chainsaw Charlie running around with the chainsaw getting thrown in. Him and Mick Foley literally got thrown in a trash can or a dumpster. Had the dumpster pushed off the Raw is War stage that was already like it's several feet in the air. I think over 10 foot, and they went over in it. Yes, it was padded and everything, but they went over. I mean, Terry Funk. When we talk about hardcore, it wasn't stuntman wrestling. It wasn't pulling up short gimmick. This man probably took more tear shots than they ever needed to. It was hardcore. If you saw Terry Funk getting in a hardcore match, you knew it was going to be brutal.
He was definitely one of those guys, man, that if you were gonna give it your all in a match like that, he wanted the full shot. I mean, one of the matches they talk about in Japan is the Flaming Ring. That was the first time he ever did it in a that could have possibly went wrong, but found a way to get out of the ring. He wasn't playing. Like if he went in, he went all in.
Okay. This probably is going to be one of the hard ones for you guys. And one that has had lasting effects across the wrestling world, as we've seen in AEW towards the later part of this year. And we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary real quick here. On January 17th, the world tragically lost underutilized talent, a talent that never really got a time to shine, but shine bright where he could, Jay Briscoe. On January 17, 2023, Jay died in a crash in Laurel, Delaware at the age of 38 when he collided head into another truck that had crossed the center line. Thankfully, his daughter was involved also in his daughter was involved in the action, but thankfully has recovered is where I was trying to go. Jay Briscoe, along with his brother, the Briscoe brothers, were known far and wide for their success as tag team in the Ring of Honor history. Not only that, but they may have been the most accomplished tag team in the world, having won titles everywhere they had been. Not only that, but Jay was a 2-time Ring of Honor world champion, so he had time to establish himself as a formidable single star in his own right. The Briscoe brothers had an amazing year in 2022, establishing themselves on major TV networks with exceptional pay-per-view matches against FTR and others. While previous controversy held them back from appearing on AEW TV, it is no longer the case, as we know Mark Briscoe continues to pay tribute to his brother and pushing forward as part of the AEW roster. Most people, okay, what happened here? Why did we skipped? Where did I skip? Why did I not get that part? But yes, we lost Jay Briscoe. I didn't get the date on this one, and that kind of makes me mad. Anyways, I believe it was one day after we lost Terry Funk. We were recovering from the loss of Terry Funk. We were processing the loss of Terry Funk when the news hit the world and took everybody out by the knees. I mean, if you were a wrestling fan on this time, on this date, you were winded, you were floored. It was a shock that stopped the wrestling world, whether it was WWE, AEW. It was reverberated across the planet when we lost the legend, the great. Hopefully he'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, the one and only Bray Wyatt. I think this is something that still affects us to this day, and it's still even hard to say that we lost Bray Wyatt. He was a creative enigma in the world where it was so easy for people to be critical, whether it be in person, behind closed doors, or via online platforms. Wyndham Rotunda, the real-life name of Bray Wyatt, fought every day for his creative vision. Bray Wyatt was an odd yet compelling character who often spoke in riddles, of which may never be deciphered. Yet, It was his delivery and his passion to strive to be something different, something truly unique, to set himself away from the pack. That's what his legacy is. He may have become a WWE champion, but no amount of championships take precedence over what Wyndham Rotunda was willing to do to perform as an original character on television. When he wasn't fighting for his vision, he was one of the nicest people backstage. He was loved by fans, wrestlers, and colleagues alike. He took extra time to greet them, and especially children. At the young age of 36, Wyndham Rotunda had so much to give, not only to wrestling, but to his family. It was truly a tragic loss. And even now, we know it was in August, it was eventually announced that Bray Wyatt had made his return to WWE after being let go. They brought him back with pomp and circumstances in a way that we couldn't wait for him to get going. I believe he came back around, Survivor Series of that year? Didn't he come in after that Survivor Series? So, I mean, we had Bray Wyatt, Survivor Series.
Extreme Rules was when he made his return.
Okay. He made his Extreme Rules
after the...
It was later last year.
Yeah.
So he made his return.
Promos.
And he really didn't get started. Then he was taken out of action. We never really understood why. It was injury, illness. It was eventually found out that he was suffering from COVID, where due to COVID, he had left some type of heart issue, and he was supposed to be wearing a heart machine. He went down to take a nap and was later found unresponsive. And yeah, Bray Wyatt was probably, those last two were probably the most tragic. Just, of course, they were on TV. These were men that were right there. We were watching them days before. With Bray, yeah, it had been several months, but these were men that were still going, that we were just waiting for their return, their appearance, their moment, and we lost them in such a tragic way.
Sorry, real quick. With Bray Wyatt, he connected with, especially kids. He grabbed their imagination.
Mm-hmm.
I hear about it. My daughter, good God, still will always love that man.
Yeah.
Him to her is the same thing as what, wrestlers before to us were. Grabbed our imagination and took it for a ride. Much respect and forever, my condolences to all those fallen wrestlers we've just talked about.
Bray Wyatt was a one-of-a-kind. Go ahead.
I want to talk about how we're still feeling the waves. You look at what his brother is doing on social media that kind of continues the lineage and character a little bit. And it's hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's good creative, but one, will the company actually do anything with it? And two, it's because we miss Bray. We miss Wyndham Rotunda.
Well,
and what he brought and what he contributed.
And it hurts the soul even talking about it. For me, at least, I can feel it just talking about it. It gives me a little misty-eyed because I absolutely love what Bray Wyatt did. I was disappointed in him losing to the Undertaker at WrestleMania. I think that was a man that could have beat the Undertaker and taken the Undertaker aura and taken it to the next level. The Fiend storyline, how that fell apart, we were just so disappointed. And then when he came back with his character, we're like, this is something different that we're getting excited about. We felt this little bit of realness from Bray Wyatt that we hadn't gotten. And I feel like he was really laying his heart, his true self out on the table for us to take advantage of and just to be gone. It's sad. Now, go ahead.
And just so everyone does know, they are making right by him by making him a legend, so folks can still.
That's right.
Well, he's under a Legends contract with WWE, and we hope that he needs to be the first name inducted into the Hall of Fame this year.
Yes.
So, and just on the side, add a note: celebrities that have been involved in wrestling, and these are three big names that were involved in wrestling in one way or another, passed away this year. On July 30th, we lost the for anybody of the kids of the late 80s and early 90s, and any of that, we lost Pee Wee Herman. And then if you're a kid of the 90s or teenager in the 90s, you know Jerry Springer, who passed away at 79 on April 27th, was a big deal. And then, of course, the original game show host for all the kids of the 80s and the 90s. If you were ever homesick on a weekday, I think most of us all turned into The Price is Right to watch Bob Barker. We lost Bob Barker at the age of 99 on August 26th. And these are all men that were involved in wrestling in one form or another, more than once even. We had Jerry Springer do different things. Jerry Springer even had his own WWE show on the network way back in the beginning of the network, where he hosted like controversial stuff in wrestling. And who can ever forget the scene between Bob Barker and Chris Jericho on Monday Night Raw? But ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for allowing this time. We thank you for giving us a moment to go over those that we have lost this year, and that we just want to remember all the wrestlers that we lost this year and give them their moment to be recognized. And we appreciate that. So. Yeah. Exactly. So, as we kind of regroup and bring ourselves back together, I think it's time to bring into what we're going to see coming from 2024. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into what we see coming for 2024. I think our biggest thing is we all see CM Punk probably winning the Royal Rumble, going on to face Seth Rollins for that WWE World Championship. Cody will do what he needs to do to face Roman. We don't know where MJF stands. I think we were safe to assume that he will return to AEW. He will, fulfill the mission with whatever the storyline is with Adam Cole. We hope that Kenny Omega makes his way back. We believe Will Ospreay will be winning the AEW World Championship by All In. But
sometime this year, but All In is
what do you see coming for 2024, Mr. Z?
Well, already 2024 is kicked off big for on any wrestling fans, and whether you're New Japan or WWE. So definitely, I would want to see Will Ospreay win the belt at All In when that happens. But everybody wants to see Cody finish the story.
Yes,
that's all. That's like the top of the list is Cody finishing the story, getting the flowers that for his dad. That's all we want to see.
And for himself.
But definitely to right that wrong.
I want to see Cody. I want to see Cody beat Roman and end that story. See where that goes. See what happens with Roman. See Cody get his flowers. That's definitely up there. But I now, even for me, I'm kind of like, I want to see Punk have his moment too, to come back after we never thought it was going to happen. Have his main event at WrestleMania, and beat Seth Rollins for that title, and have these two new champions, and see where this whole brand's going to go. I can't wait to see what WWE brings us. I can't wait to see what NXT brings us. I'm kind of getting excited that maybe NXT will hit that peak, that we might start reviewing NXT on this channel. But that's all stuff down the road. But I mean,
it's almost like Triple H is doing what he did before. He's bringing back the yellow and gold brand, the one we remember when it was hot, and he's trying to get it back to that level again, which I'm hoping, because seeing that live, brother, it's unbelievable.
Well, I know you're like me and Mr. Clarke, but I know me and Mr. Clarke are sitting here going, isn't this the crazy world that Shawn Michaels and Triple H are running WWE? And I mean, that's just
absolutely.
I don't think anybody could ever sit down and go, these would have been the two men. I mean, there was a point that, we're like, there's a joke back in the days
about it.
That the Clique was running wrestling during the Monday Night Wars, but I mean, it's really weird to look at it now. And then when you start talking about the possibility that Shawn Michaels, and he never really wanted to be in the role he's in, but he likes doing what he's doing, but it looks like Shawn Michaels is going to be working closely with CM Punk, that CM Punk might be somebody who they invest into kind of taking over the direction of NXT and breeding him for his future, which is, I can't blame Punk for taking that interest and trying to figure out, what am I going to do after the ring and how do I stay in this business that he definitely seems to have his passion back for.
Did you guys see, and I think we brought it up before, his wife dusting off the old Converse?
Well, yes, she posted on Twitter a picture of her wearing her old Chuck Taylor Converse style wrestling boots. I don't know if that's a current picture or if that's an old picture that she's dug up. But about a lot of speculation that AJ Lee is going to be coming back to professional wrestling. If she wants to do that, I'm more than happy to see her. I hope she shows up for a Royal Rumble match. I don't know if we need a long run with her, maybe a year. You have it. I think the big thing is I hope they get her signed to a Hall of Fame. I think Bray Wyatt, AJ Lee, Ken Shamrock would be 3 big names for the Hall of Fame in Philadelphia that you need to move forward for. And I think that's what you do. So I'm hoping this is true, but it's rumor and speculation. We don't have any facts. But yes, she is out there teasing the old Chuck Taylor Converse boots.
There was another recent Twitter she did where she actually took a bump for Punk. And she said something about the hashtag about I did a bump or something and went back into retirement. So I don't know which one is trolling and what she's really thinking.
Did she? And she trained a couple of the girls that are in NXT.
Oh, Corey Jade, and I forget who the other one. They're heavily involved. So
up until recently, she was also working with independent WOW, Women of Wrestling.
Yeah.
I knew about that
as a commentator. And she also kind of did like the backstage coach thing.
So we may see AJ Lee, maybe not.
The shape she was in, I was like, everyone's like, whoa, like she could legit get back into a ring because she's still, a lot of them are in really good shape still.
Maybe we see her at the Royal Rumble. Maybe we see her at the Royal Rumble as a surprise entrance would be great. Then she goes into the Hall of Fame, and then she becomes more of either a commentator on NXT or even a coach trainer down in the NXT. But I'd love to see AJ Lee come back briefly. I don't know if we need a long run with her. No. But I would love to see it. And I think that if you look at the Hall of Fame class that could possibly be coming, Bray Wyatt's number one. I think AJ Lee, if we're getting her anywhere near, let's get her in the Hall of Fame. And if now that we re-signed that deal with Shamrock, let's get Shamrock in the Hall of Fame because he definitely deserves his spot in the Hall of Fame. And I think you start off with a good Hall of Fame class right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
TNA, will they be a game changer in 2024?
But
I so want them to be. It just depends on how they write their stuff and who's the new signing and what's going on.
I would more be on the where they land on TV. Do they land on a channel that people are going to turn to?
That I don't think that.
I'm going to say they're growing their audience. So I'm going to say I'm cautiously optimistic.
I don't know if they necessarily need to worry about what channel they're on. If they have a TV rights deal, I think they're okay. But I think if they start doing what they need to do to draw the attention like they're doing right now, because they're making a lot of names, people are getting interested. They're talking about Hard to Kill, the biggest name in the biggest signing in TNA history. People are murmuring about that. TNA is coming back from being Impact. They're rebirthing that. People are talking about that. TNA, Scott D'Amore, that group is getting enough people to talk about that they could possibly be on any channel. And I think people are going to go to find that channel because they want to know what's going on. And if they can get people to watch Hard to Kill, and that's what's going to be interesting, what's the numbers coming out of Hard to Kill is going to be. Because if you get people watching Hard to Kill, and Scott D'Amore is really in tune to know how to create a pay-per-view, but also set you up to come watch the TV show next week. Scott D'Amore is good about you. We're going to give you this, but hey, there's going to be something that's going to make you, and they're going to draw people in. I think TNA could become a threat to AEW, and I think if Tony Khan isn't careful, he could really get himself bit in the ass because he's watching WWE but not watching TNA. Mr. Clarke, your thoughts? I mean, I know you've been a lover, a hater of TNA in the valleys of the roller coaster of the cockroach that will just never die. I know at one time, the very beginning, you loved what TNA was trying to do. Then it kind of squandered, and then we had the re-rise of TNA where they had a lot of great things going. We got Bischoff and Hogan in there. Some people loved it, some people hated it. You got the Aces and Eights, which felt like an element of NWO-esque, another version of it, which did pretty good. We got names that came out of this company that people may never understand. But if it wasn't for TNA, now Joe was in Ring of Honor, but then he went to TNA. I don't know, would Joe be where he is if it wasn't for TNA? Was he great in Ring of Honor? Yes, but did he not, once he got on TV with TNA, his name became a little more synonymous. Christopher Daniels, Robert Roode or Bobby Roode, James Storm,
AJ Styles.
I was trying to save the biggest name out of the company.
Mr. T.
Sorry.
Trying to save the biggest name. They're
My bad.
You've got to learn to build hype. Everybody knows that name is synonymous with TNA, but that's why you always put it, because that's the biggest name TNA has ever really created it. Yes, they had guys like Christian Cage and Kurt Angle and Booker T and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and Hulk Hogan and Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy, and they had all these names that came through, but their biggest homegrown name probably came out to be was AJ Styles. And of course, nowadays you got guys like Eric Young, who's been one of the biggest names coming out of that company. Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, two big names, the Motor City Machine Guns, who don't always get their recognition. TNA has taken Moose and made him on a different level. Josh Alexander has become a huge name within the world of professional wrestling. And now they're picking up names like Will Ospreay and Kazuchika Okada showing up on TNA. So TNA is making names, making connections, making splashes. But yes, AJ Styles, hands down, is probably the biggest name that ever came out of TNA. But if it wasn't for TNA, we probably wouldn't have gotten Austin Aries on some of the big screens. So he kind of ruined himself there. And I don't know if it wasn't for TNA, we'd ever gotten to see 5150 Bully Ray. Because he, you know,
would
we ever gotten to see how talented Bully Ray is outside of being characterized as a Dudley boy? WWE did let him have a singles run, but they weren't really going to move away from the Bubba Dudley and really let him become Bully Ray. And when we found Bully Ray and everything he did with Bully Ray and the great storytelling, whether you like the Aces of Eight storyline, Bully Ray played that storyline out great. He had you sucked in, and I don't care who you are. If you think Bully Ray, if you come at me and try to tell me, oh, I knew Bully Ray was the head of the Aces and Eights from the beginning, I would pretty much have to call you. I'd have to call you a liar because you didn't. Bully Ray played everybody. He played Hogan. It was a great story in the beginning ever, and the Bully Ray we got, and just realizing how talented Bully Ray became outside of being, pigeon-toed into a tag team guy. With WWE, we thought he was great, knew there was something there, but we never really got to see it. But when he got to TNA, and after Team 3D, disbanded, and we got Bully Ray, wow. It was really time for him to shine. I think Mr. Ken Anderson, or Mr. Kennedy's to WWE fans, got to shine there a little more than he would have been anywhere else, and got to show that he actually has a lot more talent than was given the opportunity for. I don't know any other names now. I mean, you can go way back at the beginning where Ken Shamrock, and of course NWA TNA is the place that Ron the Truth Killings, or R-Truth as he's known in WWE, got to shine. So I guess you can't not give that kudos to really seeing that Ron Killings wasn't just a great comedy, a great rapper, a great on the mic type of gimmick character, but he was actually damn good in the ring, and a former TNA or an NWA TNA champion. I think he wore the 10 pounds of gold before it became a TNA title. Yeah. Speaking of the 10 pounds of gold, if it wasn't for TNA, would we not know the name of Magnus? The one and only Nick Aldis.
Oh, man.
Whole show.
And again, we wouldn't know names possibly like Hernandez and Homicide, or LAX and Conan and that brand on at least American stuff, which also wouldn't give rise to Santana and Ortiz, Pride and Powerful, and wouldn't have given the glimpse to the world of a part of what Eddie Kingston was then and what he would eventually become. I mean, it's crazy to think that the names, when you start talking about TNA and you start throwing out these names, and then we got the great gimmicks at the time. We got to see BG James and Kip James, and we got to see many variations of the the old New Age Outlaws, and one of their we got 3 Live Crew, but that wasn't really Kip's, that wasn't Billy Gunn, but eventually we got the VKM, the Voodoo King Mafia, which was a great gimmick and a laugh that had a lot of hystericalness, and we got a lot of throwback to some of the Monday Night Wars and some of the DX stunts there. Really great stuff. So I'm excited to see what happens in 2024 for TNA. Mr. Clarke, I know your heart and passion.
We talked a lot about the Ace and Eights, but my favorite TNA stable was actually Fortune.
Yeah, Fortune was good too.
That's right.
Hell, and if you speak of Fortune, I mean, I don't know if Frankie Kazarian would have gotten over or be where he was featured.
Man. Yeah, that's right.
Without TNA, without his presence in TNA,
and
sure. I think a little bit of what was their name, SoCal, or what was SCU?
SoCal Uncensored.
Yep.
SCU.
If it wasn't for Frankie Kazarian and Daniels coming together, then would we have SCU in AEW? So, I mean, a lot of names. Oh, God, how are we forgetting one of the biggest names That's a part of the vaccine stages of WWE that came out of TNA. One of TNA's true homegrown talents. A man who created a whole match gimmick called the Monstrous Ball. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what about Abyss? Who's now working for WWE. And of course, this gave us rise to Sanjay Dutt and other elements and the Flying Ally and everything else. But hey, each his own. TNA, I can't wait to see what they do in 2024. I know we reminisce.
I'll be happy if TNA comes, when TNA jumps off, as long as they don't have it constantly, the 6-sided ring, I'm okay.
They're not bringing back
the There's been no talk about the 6-sided ring except for certain fans who are trolling.
I just want a one-off, just one. If you bring the steel cage involved with it, just the once.
They're not going to do anything with it. The 6-sided ring is gone. They might do a pay-per-view event with it, but that'll be about it. And they don't need it.
That's all I want. It's a one-off. We don't want those 6-sided ring though.
They could bring it off as a one-off at some point in time, but I highly doubt it. That's not what they're about. It's not what Scott Moore's about. I mean, hell, we can't even forget about the other aspects of. You say Scott D'Amore, and then you got to get into Team Canada, Robert Roode, Eric Young, and Petey Williams. I mean. Yeah. Would the Canadian Destroyer be as infamous as it is nowadays if it wasn't for one Petey Williams?
How everyone's doing a damn Destroyer these days. Petey Williams should be proud.
We got to give flowers a little bit in that moment because, I mean, if it wasn't for that. But 2024.
The first time I ever seen the Canadian Destroyer was by him, and I was like, oh my goodness, what? How?
2024, we are opening the door, I would say, on WWE with a ton of excitement, especially starting tomorrow. It's going to be huge. Can't wait to see how it plays out when we go into Raw day one. That's going to be a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then SmackDown, New Year's Revolution. WWE coming out the door in 2024 hot. TNA getting ready to open the door hot. AEW, we're a little confused by.
Confused but potential.
They gave us World's End. They left a lot of kind of flaws, and who knows. It's going to be interesting. We know Andrade's out the door of AEW, probably going to show up in WWE, probably maybe tomorrow night, maybe later, maybe the Rumble. We're going to have to wait and see where Andrade returns. And then
put his wife with him, please.
And then
I want to see them work together,
or at least put him back with at least put him back with Zelina Vega.
I mean, I'm not going to get mad over that either.
I think in a wrestling capacity full time, you put him back with Zelina Vega. Put him and his wife together. I think you bring back the mixed match tag tournament thing that was kind of fun, on the side. I think they could do that on the side, at least let Charlotte and Andrade team together in that. Them working together, unless they are going to create a Horseman faction or some type of faction around them, I don't know if it's going to be enough.
Plus, she's also out injured right now. I forgot about that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So, Andrade's going to be in. But AEW, again, is starting off the year kind of lost in the sauce, and it scares me. I'm hoping TNA becomes a success, so they make AEW feel threatened, and Tony Khan maybe gets serious about business. But AEW is not really in the right direction. We have Bryan Danielson still playing his pirate gimmick. MJF is going to be gone for the first part, possibly out with injury and recovery. Kenny Omega out with diverticulitis. We don't know what's going on with the Young Bucks. Will Ospreay is coming in February, so that'll be hopefully something that'll pick it up. We don't know the direction they're going to go with Swerve. There's just so much to go with AEW. It's hard to say. Yes, Mr. Clarke, I know it's tickling your fancy.
Two things they are doing quite right. The first thing is Eddie Kingston.
Yes.
What they do with him going forward, obviously, is still a mystery. But what they did with him last night and the potential moving forward is spot on. The second thing they did right, Samoa Joe, World Heavyweight Champion. Mm-hmm. It's going to be pretty hard, even for Tony Khan booking. I feel like it's going to be hard for him to mess it up.
You want to talk about being in fear for your life? Remember, he made that statement. Joe will get him.
So, But yeah, no, it's going to be. I mean, yes, they have a good world champion going into 2024. It depends on what Tony Khan does with him. They've set it up in an interesting way. I guess you could do Joe versus Swerve in a match if you want to build to that. We'll have to see. I hope we don't hotshot this title because I think we all believe that Will Ospreay is winning this title at All In. So we have 8 months to figure out who, what, when, where, and why. Right now, I would have to assume we're going to have to get Joe versus Will Ospreay for the AEW World Championship. Eddie Kingston had this moment. I just hope you're right. It was the right move. It was the right choice. I just hope that they give us a little more to make these titles, this Triple Crown, feel important. I hope Eddie Kingston comes out and cuts a promo on, I'm like these great names that were formal Triple Crowns that we can at least get understanding and validity.
I would expect him to.
I hope he does. Give me something to bite into to feel like the Triple Crown's important. Otherwise, it's just like, and so hopefully they let Eddie Kingston do something with these titles that feels prominent. Hopefully they don't just give Eddie these titles and not necessarily just have him fight every week defending these titles. Give me a little bit of prestige and storyline behind it. And definitely don't just let Eddie Kingston fade off into, oblivion with 3 titles either. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting on what they do. But 2024 looking good. I think we're going to have a very interesting year with Seth Rollins. It looks like Seth Rollins' path is going to be with CM Punk. That storyline is going to be amazing. Both these guys getting on the mic. Can't wait to see what CM Punk does with the rest of 2024. We know where he's headed pretty much from the beginning part. Probably going to win the Rumble. Probably going to WrestleMania, the main event against Seth Rollins. It doesn't look like we're going to get that Stone Cold feud, but I don't even know if we want that Stone Cold feud at WrestleMania because I think it's one of those things. You may want it. It may sound great on paper, but let's leave it in the video games because it may never play out to the expectations that we want in the ring. And so let's stay away from that. I can't wait to see what happens with Roman after he loses to Cody. What are they going to do with the bloodline? How do they salvage that? What's going to happen with Judgment Day? Are they going to fall apart eventually? A lot of interesting things there. AEW, like we said, we got to see where Eddie Kingston's going. What's Samoa and Joe going to do with that world title? What is going to be the effect of Will Ospreay into the future of AEW plans? Swerve Strickland is hot commodity. Where is he going to go? What is going to happen with MJF? Is he signed with AEW? Is he not signed with AEW? Could we see a big jump? What names will jump back and forth? We still have a lot of names that are out there. We know that Nick Nemeth, the former Dolph Ziggler, Mustafa Ali is still out there. Elias, I can't think of the other name. Shelton Benjamin. There's a lot of names that just came up from their 90 days that we haven't seen pop off anywhere, so we're going to wait and see. And we know the world is waiting for the return of one Mercedes Moné. Where will she find the money to make her splash? Are we getting trolled? Will she show up at WWE? Will she show up at the Rumble? Is it a troll job that we're hearing rumors that all the talks with WWE fall apart? Is it going to be AEW bound? Lots and lots of things that 2024 is going to be an interesting year. Especially out the door, I think we're going to get a lot of bangs with TNA and WWE. AEW, they're going to have to get into the ball game and get serious, and hopefully Tony Khan does get to the point where it's time to know that it's time to get serious and get back in because we want AEW to be successful. Is there anything you gentlemen want to add to all that?
I was going to say, well, hopefully we bring up Tony Khan. Hopefully, football season be done. I don't know where his team is at right now as far as playoff contention.
They're
it won't be pretty much.
They're right there.
So pretty much we're gonna have to wait and see where his head's at because if his focus is there, we might not get the best. The smartest thing he could do is find someone to do it for him.
The Jaguars are leading the AFC South. They are, of course, tied right now with the Colts and the Texans. But in the AFC East, the Dolphins have clinched a wild card at least. They're leading the AFC East. The Ravens have clinched their conference. The Browns just got a wild card spot. So that's what we're looking at there. But the Jaguars, Colts, and Texans are all in number 1 or 9 and 7 for the South. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, it looks like the Chiefs would be 5, 6, 7. So yeah, the Jaguars have a good chance if they can stay undefeated. Not lose any too big matches, but they will definitely be into.
Mr. Khan, I know you're watching. Please get a Booker man. Let someone handle it for you. I'm telling you, it'll do what's best for your business.
Let's see here. Since we're talking football, it looks like, did they win? Did your boys win?
27-10, baby.
You know what that means, right? The 49ers have clinched the number 1 seed in the NFC.
We got a bye week. Yay.
And they have, that means you have home field advantage throughout.
Mm-hmm.
So you are good.
Fingers crossed I'm going to one of those games because they're not cheap.
No, I know they're not cheap. Anyways, back to the world of professional wrestling. Hopefully Tony Khan gets... Go ahead.
I say, so both Miguel's mentality as well as what Tony Khan needs to listen to is time to play the game. When Triple H is over things.
No, yeah, there you go.
Let's not say play the game. Not play a game with the game. Like, don't worry about WWE. Just get serious about your business.
That's not what I meant.
Well, that's why I said hire a booker man. Get a booker man. There are plenty of good, solid wrestling minds out there.
I told you he's got Will Washington, Bryan Danielson, Dean Malenko, Sarah something, that's name I've forgotten, and I think one other person in his buddy group that he
Sanjay.
Yeah, Sanjay that's his creative team. And for jokes and giggles, Vince McMahon or Shane, one of the two.
I thought you were going to say Vince Russo.
Jeez.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I did that name.
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
So 2024 looking good. 2023 is out the door tonight. We celebrate. We wish you a happy new year. We wish you the best in the future. And we thank you for joining us. We thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come here and watch us ramble about professional wrestling, as we always do. We thank you for joining us on this yearly roundup, where we covered everything in this year, talked about some of the big moments, talked about what we see going forward into tomorrow. Next year, we'll have a more platform because we know what we want to do, and we'll be collecting information data to really blow next year's yearly roundup out of the water. But we got 365 days to prepare for that. So that's going to be awesome and great. But we need your help going into 2024. Our goal here at 2024, our New Year's resolution is to break that 1,000 subscriber mark, and we need your support in doing that. So if you're here, make sure you like this video. If you're here, make sure you share this video out. And if you aren't already subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join the Value Wrestling family. Join us to move forward. Once we break that 1,000 mark, we are definitely going to work on things because we want to get back to you guys. We want to be able to be a company that can not only be a contender in the wrestling podcasting community, but we also want to give back to our fans. We also want to create merchandise. We've been looking at stickers and t-shirts designs and all types of fun stuff that we definitely want to get into, but we know we have to hit that big mark to get there to start funding and financing these things, and you're the biggest part of doing that. So if you hit that subscribe button, join the Value Wrestling family, help us grow over this next year. We're going to reach that 1,000. We're going to get there, and we're going to be so happy and let you guys be a part of this amazing journey from an upstart to becoming a serious contender and a loaded platform. We know we're trying to contend for a space in a very crowded field some days, but we're going to get it, and we're only going to get better, and we are working every day to get better. If you have any comments, thoughts, drop them below. If you think something else is different, what was your favorite moment in wrestling for 2023? What was your favorite match for 2023? Drop it all in the comments. Join in the conversation anytime. We will be back tomorrow night. Me and Mr. Clarke are going to be here. We're going to do a back-to-back live affair. World's End last night, the yearly roundup today, and tomorrow we'll be live to showcase and talk about the first Monday Night Raw of the new year of the 2024. We're going to be here with Raw Day 1 coverage. We're going to review that all in the details. We're going to talk about it in depth. We are excited. And we are going to be here to break that all down. We hope you'll be excited to join in that conversation. But hey, let's start 2023 or start 2024 in the right way. I say we go for Dance Party.
Oh, no.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for being a part of our show today, and we can't wait to see you. We will be back live tomorrow with the first Raw review of 2024. Happy New Year's. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. And we will catch you on the very, very next one.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo,
yeah.
no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you, bitch, always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't